How's it going, guys? And welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Black Appeal, the Apple Guy, and just like the title suggests, I'm going to be talking about my Sony zv-1 and if it's still worth buying in 2022. So we're going to get into this right now. Yes, I still have this camera. Yes, it's an amazing camera. Is it dubbed Sony's content creating camera for a reason? Yes. Would I recommend telling anyone to buy this if they're looking to buy their first Sony camera? Definitely. So we're gonna go bit by bit as to why I am agreeing with everything I just said. So I actually bought this camera back in November of 2020. So I've had it for almost 2 years, and I still have this camera. I love this camera. The reason why I have this camera is it's small, it's compact, does everything that I need to do, the same thing as my a6400 does, just in a smaller compact size. Now, if you're new to my channel, actually, Sony is not the first camera I've ever bought in terms of just removable lens type of cameras. So actually, my first ones were the Panasonic lineup, the G7, the G85, and have long since gone and moved on from that lineup to the Sony lineup again. Since my first actual camera was a Sony HX80, which was my first brand name camera, and then I went from that to the to the Panasonics back to Sony again. Now, I was looking to kind of change up the style of cameras that I had or was looking to get. I didn't want to have running around with two different, large cameras. And the G85 and the G7 for Panasonic were rather large cameras. And when I took those with me to California for a convention, I just didn't feel like they were just really rather big, and I had to carry around like a bunch of lenses. So when I decided to go with the Sony, I decided to kind of go for something small and compact that kind of did the same thing as I could do with my Panasonics. Now, the problem was that there really wasn't too much out there that you could get that actually really worked well. Aside from just going back to point shoots, and I didn't really want to do that. So Sony came out with their Sony zv-1, and I believe Canon also at the same year came out with their Canon M50. Now, I was thinking about getting the Canon M50, but when I saw what it was and how big it really wasn't going to work out for me because it wasn't something that I would consider compact that I could just throw in my pocket. Then came out the Sony zv-1, dubbed the content creator camera, and I did a little bit of review, did a little bit of a looking around, and just kind of getting the lay of the land of the camera, and I bought it, and I've had it ever since. So I pretty much use this camera for pretty much almost everything when it comes to doing any types of videos. I mean, obviously, I'll still be using my a6400, but occasionally, I'd say probably 60% of the time, I'll be using the Sony zv-1, and then I'll be using the a6400 whenever I just feel I want to use that. What I love about the zv-1 is that you still get that articulating screen. Now, I really have been unable to find any camera, at least at the time, other than the Canon M50, that could do this, but in a compact size. Other than the Sony zv-1, there really wasn't any other camera out there that could do that, hence why I bought it. Now, the only downside to this, in terms of my opinion, as of owning it for quite a while, is that it doesn't have an articulating touch screen, which is, again, neither here nor there. It is kind of nice to kind of set some of your stuff by just simply just pressing on a button on the screen, as opposed to just kind of going through the menu setting. But the fact that you get it with an articulating screen, that pretty much allows you to do all types of cool vlogging, where you can simply just have it in front of you. You can see yourself in the screen, and you can check to see if you're in focus, what your ISO, pretty much everything that you can see before you even hit record is there on the screen. Now, you really can't get that with any other small compact camera, which is why I bought this. Now, in terms of battery life, yes, obviously it's good to buy two batteries, one that comes with it and then buy a separate one. But I've actually been able to go about a day or so without having to actually swap out the batteries. Now, if you're using this in a more of a home setup, you can buy dummy batteries for these, which I have a link down below for some that I've seen other YouTubers talk about. But generally, 9 times out of 10, it really depends on how you shoot your videos. Even if you shoot your videos at 1080, you should be perfectly fine. 4K, if you're going to be doing a lot of walking around and vlogging, it's best just to buy another battery. But if you're going to be sitting at home and you're going to be doing, like, say, an hour or two of, vlogging, you should be perfectly fine with just the extra battery. But if you're planning on doing, like, long videos such as Twitch streaming or Zoom meeting or something of that nature, yes, it's probably good to have a dummy battery for the Sony zv-1. Now, the downside is unfortunately, unlike most other compact cameras, with the ZV-1, there really is no way to kind of keep the cord and keep the battery door from not being able to close. So when you try to close it, it will not be able to close because there is no little cord exit for the dummy battery to exit out off the side. That's the downside of having a dummy battery for this. But again, if you're doing it in a long period of video, there's ways of kind of keeping this on there without having to worry about the battery falling out. This is just a camera rig for my ZV-1. This is from Newer. The small rig makes one also. You basically just connect this to the rig and you can put it on a tripod. Gives it enough space so even when you put the dummy battery in and the door out, you still have the ability to grab it without it falling out. You still be able to record without having to worry about, is my battery going to fall off the camera? That's the only downside. Aside from that, there's great video quality. Pictures, I didn't really buy it for pictures because it's not really made for pictures, although it does have the ability to take photos on it. I primarily bought this for the ability to do videos, which this does an extremely good job of. Now, what we're going to do is I'm actually going to switch from my A6400 and we're going to finish the rest of this video out on my Sony ZV-1. So you can see what the video quality is on this. And now when you're shooting outside, now I changed the venue because shooting video in my room is one thing. I have lights and I have all that. I can control my settings, but when you're vlogging outside, you really want to see what the camera's like outside. So right now I have this on program. It is on automatic mode. It's not in manual mode, although I would recommend using it in manual mode. And you have to apologize, it's a little shady. It's because it's a little bit hot out here and I don't really do too well when I'm vlogging and it's hot because I tend to sweat and don't need that on the camera. But it's in program auto, which means that the camera is pretty much taking care of everything that you see here. I also did a few B-roll shots that I'll throw in right now, just so you can take a look at that. And as you can see from the video, this is actually all in 1080, so none of it is in 4K, although you can change it to 4K if you want to in the menu settings while still keeping it in the program auto mode. But like I said, I recommend at least trying manual mode. That way you can understand your shutter speed and you can understand aperture and all of that, because it does tend to make it much easier, especially when it comes to recording. You don't have to do it. I know there's a lot of vloggers out there that'll tell you that you need to learn manual. You don't really need to learn it right off the bat. It does take some getting used to, and it's not something that you'll learn right off the bat. It does take some understanding, and again, it also depends on the camera that you're using, because some cameras do well, whereas others don't. But again, that's up to you. You don't have to learn it in manual, but I'd recommend it. That way you can at least understand the basic grasp of it, so you can know how to color grade and learn how to edit your color once you start becoming more familiar with the camera. And again, I'm using this with the Sony remote control, which again, you don't need that either. The camera on its own is perfectly fine, and you don't need the Rode video mic. You don't really need an external mic, not unless you want to. The audio on its own is perfectly fine. And that is everything that I got. So I hope those videos were helpful for you. And again, if you're new to my channel, please feel to browse my channel. Definitely take a look at the Sony ZV-1 playlist that I got. I do a lot more reviews on this as well. And if this is your first time to my channel, please think about hitting that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, that way you don't miss content when I drop it. And that's everything that I got. And I hope you guys enjoy your summer. Stay safe. See you guys in the next video.